to Historical Happy Hour, the podcast that explores new and exciting historical fiction. I'm your host, Jane Healey, and in today's episode, we welcome best-selling author Eliza Knight to discuss her latest novel, Confessions of a Grammar Queen. Welcome, Eliza. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with you and to chat about this book.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to meet you too, because I feel like we have a lot of mutual people in
Yes,
common.
we definitely do. And a lot of things in common with books and wine and history and all of that.
Exactly, exactly. I'm going to do a quick bio on you and then we'll jump in.
Sure.
Um, Eliza Knight is the award-winning USA Today and international best-selling author of Confessions of a Grammar Queen. An avid history buff, her love of history began as a young girl when she traipsed the halls of Versailles. She also writes contemporary women's fiction under the pseudonym Michelle Brandon. Eliza is the creator of the historical blog History Undressed and co-host of the History Books and Wine podcast. She lives on the Sun Coast with her husband, three daughters, a dog, and a turtle. We were both dog lovers, and I have lots of questions about that as well.
Love dogs.
So, talk about the premise of this wonderful novel and how you came up with it.
Sure. So, Confessions of a Grammar Queen takes place in 1960s New York City, and the main character of the book is Bernadette Swift, who is a young copy editor at the fictional Lenox and Park publishing house. And she has aspirations of working her way up to being this first female CEO of a publishing house. Along the way, she has a wonderful set of friends who she meets after hours at the New York Public Library for their little book club, and they all empower each other in every aspect of their life, whether it's employment, marriage, dating, friendship, people that are being mean to them, whatever it may be, they really empower each other. And then also we have a special point of view from her dog Frank, who is a Great Dane, and he's sort of what I imagine to be like the mayor of the borough that they lived in, and just he's a great comic relief, and also her, wonderful companion that keeps her safe.
I loved it. I love Frank. I have questions about him later. Do you have do you have a Great Dane? What kind of dog do you have?
So I don't have a Great Dane. Frank is actually based off of a real dog that I met. Do you want me to share that story?
Sure. Yeah.
So I was visiting my oldest daughter at the time. She was at college at the Ohio State University. I always add the "the" in there for the
Oh
Ohio
yeah.
State people. They've got to have it. But we were doing like a little bar crawl, and one of the bars we were at, this Great Dane walked through the front door alone, and people were like, "Hey, Frank, good to see you tonight." And like, "Oh, are you thirsty?" Like giving him some of their water. "Do you want to fry?" And I was mesmerized because this dog was clearly a regular at this bar. So we asked questions, and of course, it turned out he did have an owner, and the owner was in the outside courtyard part with the other Great Dane who was working that crowd. But we just fell in love with Frank. I have a picture of my daughter playing with him on the ground, and we were like, I had to use him as a character at some point because I've never seen a dog more confident in my life.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes, but I
I
have had.
love go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have a half Newfoundland, half Lab, and she's so adorable. But most of Frank's personality is actually based on my Newfoundland, who passed away earlier this year, and she was just such a character. So you get to see a bit of her in Frank.
Oh, that's amazing. I have a teacup golden doodle, so a little bit smaller.
Oh,
Yeah, only 20 pounds. Yeah.
so cute, big cuddler.
Yeah, totally. So Bernadette, I want to talk about her as a character because she's essentially a composite of a few powerful women in the publishing world, including Anna Wintour. Talk about the women that inspired this character and how you came up with Bernadette.
Okay, sure, no problem. So, the first person that I discovered, I mean, obviously, well, most of us know who Anna Wintour is with The Devil Wears Prada and being the editor of Vogue and all of that. And she was an amazing person, still alive, who just has taken, magazine publishing by storm, and everyone admires her. But I was looking for more historical women that I could also base Bernadette off of, and I found two. One is Eleanor Gold Packard. She was known as the grammarian of the New Yorker magazine, and that title is something that I gave to Bernadette. It's one of the names that she puts on her headband with some glitter, and she was just the one of the most famous copy editors there ever was, and her origin story is one that really inspired Bernadette's character, and also I just found to be a total mic drop moment that had to be shared. So apparently, when she applied for the job at the New Yorker in the 50s, they rejected her application, and she was not going to take no for an answer. She knew she was talented, and she had dreams of working for the magazine. And so she took a published copy of the New Yorker off of a newsstand, and she took it home and she copy edited an article or two and then brought it back. And she basically said, "Hey, I've copy edited this. Do you want to give me the job now? You guys already published this, and look at what I've found here." And of course, they said, "Yes, absolutely, you can work here."
I
And
love that. That's such a power move. So
right?
good.
Seriously, like you can't even make that up. It's so good. And so she got the job, and her edits at the magazine were known as Gold Proof, and that was her maiden name when she first started working there. And that's another thing I kind of borrowed for Bernadette's. Her edits were known as Swift Proof. And
So
the
good.
third woman is Phyllis E. Grand. She was the first female CEO of a publishing house, not till 1987, and she worked there until she retired. So she's still alive today as well.
Excellent. So interesting. I mean, obviously, like you said, everyone knows Anna Wintour,
Yeah.
Bogue. The other names I had kind of vaguely heard but didn't know, and so it was fun to read your author interview at the end of the book to like find out more about those too. I know we've already talked about Frank. I won't go like too deep into Frank, but I love dogs, and I was trying to remember. I think the only other book I've read that has a dog like chapters from a dog's perspective is Lessons in Chemistry. I loved that, and I was like. Oh my God. And you nailed it. I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, how I love the comic relief. I love the dog's perspective. Was that a challenge for you? Was it a like nice break for you? Like how'd you do it?
First of all, that book is a great book. I love Lessons in Chemistry. So my first book that had a dog point of view is actually The Queen's Faithful Companion, and that came out
Oh,
last year. And it's about Queen Elizabeth II and her corgi Susan, who she was gifted on her 18th birthday. And I had had so much fun writing Susan's point of view and getting into the mind of a dog that I was like, okay, next book I'm doing the same thing. And when I met the real Frank, I was like, okay, we're doing this. So yeah, I had so much fun. Like the thing with dogs is like they're just so much more basic than we are, and they can sense our emotions, they can sense how we're feeling, and they really play off of that a lot of the time. So
Hmm.
taking out all of, the drama that goes on in human lives and just really getting down to the basics and what people are thinking and how to make people feel good or, to understand them is really how I got into the mindset of the dog. And then also to remember that like the points of the dogs in the books are to give a little comic relief but also to give an insight into their human that we're
Hmm.
not going to see from the human's perspective. And then for example in Confessions there's only the point of view of Bernadette and the dog, so you're not going to see what other people think of her, and he kind of provides that as well.
Yes, totally. So good. So one of the elements you mentioned already is this secret feminist book club that takes place in the New York Public Library. I hadn't been in the New York Public Library for a while, and I went in around Christmas time, and it's just such a special place. Like I forgot like how much I loved it. And they actually at the time, I don't know if it's still on, they had a New Yorker exhibit, which was amazing. Like a little like I don't know if you saw that. So talk about this secret feminist book club. Did you just come out of like did you hear about anything like this or did you come up with that on your own? And talk about the New York Public Library too because it's such a cool setting.
Yeah, sure. So when I was plotting out this book, I knew I wanted Bernadette to have a group of friends that were empowering her. And being in like the book industry, I wanted it to be book related. And I was also visiting New York at the time, and I did like a tour of the New York Public Library, which I agree, it's one of the coolest places ever. And there was this long hallway that had, it was like gated off, but it was like this old fashioned like wooden gate. And I can't even tell you exactly where it was. I have a picture of it. And I was like, oh, I want to go back there. Wouldn't it be cool to like sneak back there? And that was kind of like in the back of my mind. So when I knew I wanted her to have a book club and they were going to be chatting about books that weren't necessarily things that husbands or parents or anyone would necessarily agree with or the conversations they were having, I thought, well, maybe they could sneak back there where, where people aren't allowed. And so I have, the janitor opens up the door for them after hours, which was like a really fun little touch. And I don't know if you noticed that one of the characters that is in the book club is named Ruth, and I based her off of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, so she has her history and background.
Amazing. Oh,
But I wanted the friends to all come from like different walks of life. So you've got nurses, you've got an artist, you have the young lawyer, you have a stay-at-home mom. You've got Bernadette and her girlfriends from the publishing industry, and I thought it would be so fun to have like, a group like that where women could really just talk about things that weren't really being talked about in public or weren't considered polite conversation. And I know whenever I go to my book club, like that's exactly what we do. So I was like, this is, a lot of people's book clubs are like that. And I thought it would be just the perfect spot for it. Didn't I don't know if book clubs were happening back then. I'm certain they were. Like I feel like since books have been around, people have talked about it and women have been talking about, oh my gosh, have you read this book? In secret, or they were, sneaking each other little volumes or whatever it was back in the day. So I thought that was like a really fun aspect to put in there.
really fun. Yeah, I always say, like, I talk to a lot of book clubs, and I'm like, if book clubs ran the country, we'd be a lot better off. I would say, like,
Seriously,
they're so
seriously agree with
good.
that.
So I want to talk about setting. You've written a ton of historical fiction. This starts in 1963 in New York City. Love New York. What kind of research did you do to capture time and place? And was there anything that surprised you?
Yeah, so the fun thing about setting it in 1963 for me was that there was so much like documentation, like maps and real photographs and even some video and things like that that I was able to actually watch and see the city come to life during that era. Normally, I write stuff that takes place a lot earlier, so makes it a little bit more difficult. And also, like having known people that lived in New York City during that time and chatting with them about how the city, what the atmosphere was and the vibe, that was really awesome. So the research was a little bit different for me in that it was a new era and one that was a little bit closer to modern time. Um,
Hmm.
and so I really just tried to capture the atmosphere of the city, but also digging into a little bit more about what was happening in the world during that time period. So in 1963, we have the Equal Pay Act come out. And that was one of the reasons I chose to set it during the time period, because we've got Bernadette who wants a promotion at work. She wants to become the first female CEO. And finally, there's a law that says women can be paid equally. They should be offered these promotions. And so it kind of felt like it fit right in there. Also, we have like the civil rights acts going on. We haven't fully gone into Vietnam yet, but we're dipping our toes. And then also, I didn't want to set it after or during the assassination of JFK because I didn't want that to overtake the story itself. So August of
Mm.
1963 seemed like the perfect time to dig in there. So yes, then I had to research like different things that women were able to do. When I first started writing, Bernadette had rented her apartment on her own, and then come to find out during research and being a little bit surprised, she wouldn't have been able to rent an apartment on her own. So her brother helps her out with that because her parents don't necessarily agree with her living in the city on her own. And then also, again, surprised that women couldn't have credit. And I was talking to a reader recently, and she remembered being at a store and a department store, and her mom wanted to open a credit card for the store, and they said, actually, here's the application, but you need to have your husband fill it out, and then you can come back and we'll give you the credit card. And her mom was furious, and I can't even imagine going to like the mall right now and being like, oh yeah, give me the Victoria's Secret credit card or whatever, and then being like, sorry, you have to come back with your husband for that. That would like slay me inside. I just couldn't even handle it. So there was a lot of surprises like that. And also at the same time, like it was such a great time for women too, because they were really coming out and saying, no, we want these rights. We've got, the birth control pill had just been brought out recently. And so they were starting to have a little bit more autonomy with their birth control situation and all this stuff. So I loved that time period and found a lot of things to be surprising in that they were pretty depressing, and then but
Yeah.
also surprising in an exciting way of how it was bringing women together to really push for those rights.
Yeah, it was a real time of change for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, my mom still talks about like not being able to have your own credit card or checking account or own property. Like it's crazy that it was
Yeah.
not that long ago, right? Like it just, yeah.
Like
It,
there it's, history, historical fiction, whatever, but people are still alive from that time period. So it's real. Like it's not that long ago at all. It drives me crazy.
I know it is. It's maddening.
Yeah.
I want to talk about so Bernadette is a grammar genius, basically. As a writer, do you have any? It was funny. I was on t TikTok, like doom scrolling or whatever, but there's this writer on there who was talking about all her grammar pet peeves that make her crazy. Like, do you have any grammar pet peeves?
I don't know if I necessarily have any pet peeves. I do love the Oxford comma. So every book I've signed, I've written like, with admiration and Oxford commas, like
So
XO,
good.
because I feel like, they save lives. Like that one comma can save your life. So I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And then also when I'm editing myself or like critiquing for a friend, repetitive words, like I really pick up a lot on repetitive words. I don't know
Yes.
why, but they just like pop out of the screen for me. But I wouldn't necessarily call myself a grammar queen. I know when I was writing this book, I did so much research into copy editing and like grammar just because one, it's Bernadette's character. I had to know those things. And I confused myself so many times. I was like, I don't know any of this. Like, thank goodness I have like an actual copy editor that's going to look through this afterwards. But also just like because I knew I was writing a grammar queen book, I wanted it to be super clean and also kind of reflect some of those grammar queen things. I had a lot more fun coming up with some of the puns that are in there than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, those were good. Yeah. I'm not a grammar queen either. And every time I hand in a manuscript, I'm like, oh my God, copy editors are like the
Oh
rock
yeah,
star. They're rock stars. Like I don't
they
even know how they
are.
do it. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and the copy editor for this book, wow. So I got the copy edits back, and my editor, like the message basically said, if you need a little bit more time with this, that's okay. And I was thinking, oh no, what's it going to look like? And the copy editor took her job so seriously. I was like,
Oh, that's
they normally
awesome.
take their job seriously, but I felt like she went the extra mile this time around.
Yeah. Yeah. Because God forbid you get anything wrong in a book called The
Right?
Grammar Queen. Yeah.
Exactly.
So funny. I want to talk. I always ask writing questions, writing related questions, or general questions. So, talk about your writing process. Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Or is it a combination of the two?
I think a lot of people would probably call me like an extreme plotter. I am a queen of the spreadsheets, I guess you could say. Everything I write is done on spreadsheets. So I have all my character breakdowns, my historical research, my timelines, the arcs of the different, plot points, and the acts of the story, and all the chapters are all broken down onto a spreadsheet before I start, and the theme of the novel, and then links to everything. So it's pretty intense. But the other thing is, I also know like while I'm writing that things will change. So I'm not so rigid in that I can't change something while I'm going. But yeah, so I'm calling myself like an extreme plotter, I think.
I think you and I are pretty similar that way, and it's nice to meet someone who's like that because
Yay!
I'm pretty obsessive when it comes to like plotting things out before I
I
like.
love that.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I feel like my outline is almost like a super messy first draft. I like to say
Yeah,
like,
I could see that. Like you probably could do the same thing for mine because like it's so ridiculous on the spreadsheets that you could just I mean that's how I do my pitches and everything. So
awesome. Now, do you use Scrivener at all, or just like Excel and Microsoft Word? Like, what do you
yeah.
use for?
So I don't use Scrivener. I am like a total like Excel and Microsoft Word girl. I do like Google Docs, so my spreadsheets are oftentimes on Google Docs actually, because I can use them on my computer or I can access it from my laptop if I'm traveling, which happens a lot. And because I use Apple products and I'm not affiliated with Apple, so that's not a plug, but I can do the I have the Google spreadsheet app on my phone too. So I
Oh,
can
nice.
pull up my plot. Like if I'm out at the grocery store, I'm like, oh, I want to add this real quick. I can pull up my spreadsheet for my phone. And I love that.
Oh, that's a nice feature. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then it's not like everything's all over the place, like all your notes and different things.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
nice. Yeah. So you write contemporary stories as well as historical, which is super impressive, and you write under the name Michelle Brandon, and you just released a contemporary called Rush Week. I keep on
Yeah.
wanting to call it Greek Week. It's Rush Week. Tell everyone about the premise of that story, and do you have a preference in terms of genre? Like that's amazing that you write in both.
Thank you. So the preface of Rush Week is four sorority sisters, and when they were in college together, they sort of ruled their sorority, and they had these spill the tea parties where they would have everyone basically confess their darkest secrets into the spill book. And they were not all good girls, especially the four main characters. I like to call them sort of like my anti-heroines. Um, and they did some pretty bad stuff. And so they've marked it down in the spill book. It's buried in a time capsule that's not supposed to be, dug up for 100 years. So they figure no one's going to find out about the stuff we did, except that they end up digging it up early for an event. And now someone has stolen it and is seeking revenge through blackmail. And so they have to come back to college after they've graduated to sort of hash out their friendship that fell apart, and then also make sure the spill book doesn't get out so that people don't find out what they did. And it's kind of like a revenge fiction, I'm calling it these days. It was really, really fun to write. And for me, I felt like it's sort of like, I don't know if I want to call it like a palate cleanser or just like a way to make my brain work in a different way. So between the historical fiction novels, writing like this revenge suspense was just a fun way to like play and have my brain work in a different like way, I guess. And I really, really enjoyed that so much. So I don't have a preference. I've been doing both. I have two coming out next year, another historical and another contemporary. So I've just had so much fun like doing both. I don't know if I could stop now.
Amazing. So impressed. Yeah, very, very cool. Um, what part of the writing process do you love and what part do you find the most challenging?
So the thing I love the most, and I'm definitely in the minority here, is editing. The editing part of the writing process is my absolute favorite. I feel like that's where the magic happens. The words are already down, and now I just get to make them look pretty, or I get to add in, some rhetorical devices and metaphors and things like that that are exciting. Um, and tweak things. Like I love that part. The drafting part is not my favorite.
Oh
I
no.
love like plotting it and editing it. The middle part where I have to actually write it, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, it's like I always say it's like getting that movie in your head onto the page is like
Yes,
blood from a stone every time. Every
it
time.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And I like sometimes have to bribe myself. Like
hmm
finish, you can go get that really good coffee that you wanted.
Yep, yep. Brown sugar latte. Yeah, exactly.
In your future, just get going.
Right. When you're on deadline, what's your writing routine like?
So I have figured out over the years that my best writing time is around 7 in the morning. And so I'm pretty strict about that when I'm on deadline. I sit at my desk at 7 and I won't like do anything else until I finish. And if I can get to my desk at 7, which I'm pretty good about because I'm also like super type A, like follow my own rules, I can finish my words for the day like around 10, which is good because at that point it starts slowing down. And what I normally tell people is if I can get my word count done in that period of time, if I tried to switch that to a different time of day, it takes me twice as long.
Oh
And it's
wow.
just a waste of my time. And like, as you know, like when you're writing, you're also doing other things. So you have to promote whatever you've got coming out or already out, or you've got edits maybe coming in, or maybe you're working on a pitch, or like you're editing your podcast, whatever, interviewing someone. So there's always like so much that has to get done in a day. So I tried to figure out what are the optimal times for each of those things so that I can really like focus and get it done. Or else I think I would go crazy. So that's pretty much like my writing process is getting up in that at that the right time and getting to the computer at the right exact time and really honing in and focusing, like turning off the internet, turning off my cell phone, and well, I don't exactly turn off my cell phone. All my family's on the emergency override, so if they
Oh
need
right.
something, they can get to me.
Yeah.
But anyone else has to wait.
I got it. Yeah, no, that's good. That actually leads me to my next question because that's kind of good advice for any writers is having a routine and being able to shut out the world and all that. But what's the best advice you have for writers about writing and about getting published? So it's like a two-part question, obviously,
Yeah,
very
sure.
different.
Totally good. So my best advice for writers who want to get started is to just start. Like even if it's crap, you know, set a goal like, I'm going to write one paragraph today, or I'm going to write one sentence, or I'm going to write one page or one chapter, whatever that goal is, do it every day, or at least 5 days a week. I don't work on the weekends, so I would never want someone else to work 7 days a week. But, it's just making it a habit. And I think, like I said, finding those right times that are good for you. But also something that I found, early on in my writing career, and what a lot of people that are starting out is that, or even people who've been writing for a long time, I guess, is that not everyone will always respect that time. And
Mm.
so you really have to like set your boundaries and say, like, I am working on my book from this time to this time. Do not disturb me. And like,
Oh, you just froze. Uh-oh.
the first part is if you have kids, are you there?
Yeah,
Oh,
okay, you're back.
okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know
Um,
what happened there.
yeah, probably a storm, probably, or something. I'm in Florida, so it's always storming down here. Um,
Yeah.
so if you have kids, those are the hardest ones, I think, to get them to understand, like, you can't just walk into my office and talk to me like while I'm mid writing. Like, it totally pulls you out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
setting those boundaries is the most important. And then about getting published is really polish that work, but don't stop at that one single thing. Once you've finished and you're going out on submission, start the next project, because a lot of times, if they don't want your first project, they might want the second one, or they might want two, or they might say, what else do you have? And you want to be able to have something else. So I think that's the best advice I could give.
Yeah, excellent advice. Um, do you have any input? This is a random question into I just love the cover. I'm always fascinated with cover design. I love pink is my favorite color. That's probably part of the reason I love the color. So did you have any input into this? Or do you in general in your cover designs?
So normally they send me a couple different covers. For this book, I think it was 4 different ones that they sent. And then they all took a poll, and I took a poll amongst like my family and friends, and I gave the numbers. That was my favorite, and that was generally the favorite of most people. There was another favorite that the publisher had. And so they did this like test marketing thing to see what the public thought. And then they ended up going with the pink one. So I was so happy, because that was my absolute favorite one. And then,
Nice.
yeah, at my other publishers, it's the same sort of experience. Like, sometimes I get, 4, sometimes I get 8 different comps to look at. And then there have been a couple times where they've sent me, this is the cover, what do you think? And I'm like, it's great. Or like, hey, can we tweak this a little bit? And they're usually pretty receptive to stuff like that, because, we're working as a team. It's not a blanket, like, this is it, you can't say anything.
Right. They want you to be happy too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Are you ready to share what you're working on next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm doing edits right now. I on 2 different books, but I'm trying to pace it so they're not doing it on the same day, because I can't. My brain won't do that. But the first one is Lost in the Summer of '69, and that comes out next year on June 9th. And it is another historical fiction, and it is a generational story. So it's one timeline. It's the summer of '69, and there's a grandmother, a mother, and a college-aged daughter. And the grandmother has recently been diagnosed with dementia. When she was young, she was known as the belle of wartime music, but she gave up her career to have a family. And so now that she's found out that she is going to be slowly losing her memories, she has decided to have one last great summer where she gets to play music. And there's all these music festivals happening that summer. So she takes off to go follow her dreams. The only thing is, she forgot to tell anyone she was leaving. So when her daughter goes to pick her up for her birthday dinner, she's gone. And there's a few clues as to where she might have gone off to. So the daughter requests that her college-age daughter, summer before going off to Yale, will go with her on this road trip to find grandma. And as they're going along trying to find her, they find out she's been named the Dame of Rock and Roll, and is all over the news, playing at all these festivals. So it's like a fun, quirky story, but it's also very heartwarming, and it's a lot about following your dreams and figuring out who you are and who you want to be. And I had so much fun, and I'm reading through it now, just like falling in love with it all over again. So I hope people like that. And
Amazing.
The next one is the Michelle book. That is Trad Wife, and I'm editing that right now too. And it's also multi POV, and it's about a community of trad wives where we've got a lot of drama and juiciness going on, sort of like Rush Week. We've got a mean girl trad wife who's not a real trad wife; she's sort of faking it, and then we've got a dead body too. So there's a lot going on there. It's a fun sort of revenge thriller novel again.
I feel like trad wife fiction is like coming around. Joe
It
Piazza just came out
totally
with
is.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited about it. Yeah, there's so many of 'em out there, and people keep being like, "Oh, have you read this one?" I'm like, "No, I'm not reading any of them until my
No,
book is completely turned in and no more edits, no more copy edits. I'll read them next year." Um,
exactly.
yeah. But there's been like some fun, social media is going crazy over Tradwives too. So I've been enjoying watching all those videos. And then I watched what was it? Well, it wasn't necessarily a trad wife, but it was The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I thought that was such a great show too.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard, yeah, my daughter was telling me about it actually. So,
it's it's a
yeah.
juicy one.
So funny.
Yeah.
How can readers best stay in touch with you?
So I'm really, really active on Instagram is probably the best one, and that's at Eliza Knight Fiction. I'm also on Facebook, Eliza Knight Fiction there as well, and I have a website, elizaknight.com, and a newsletter on there as well. And also there's an events link. So if they want to come to any of the events, I usually have a bunch going on throughout the year. So, oh, and then I have a podcast,
I
History
was going to
Books.
say, and you have your podcast
Yeah,
too. Tell everyone a little bit about that before we wrap up. So if you
sure.
can check it
So,
out.
yeah, the podcast is History Books and Wine, and during season, it's a weekly podcast of historical fiction authors. Sometimes I have other fun people come in, like I had a sommelier on, I've had a historian on, things like that, and we just chat about history and books and wine, and it's like a fun, 30-minute show, and just get to kind of geek out on all those things.
Awesome. So this was delightful. It's like I said, I feel like we know a lot of people in common, and it's so nice to meet you. And I'm so, congratulations on the success of your two latest books that came out like within a month of each other. I'm just so impressed with you in all the ways and your prolificness. And you're the type of writer that inspires me, so thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's my absolute pleasure. It's so good to finally chat with you, and I'm really enjoying your book too.
Oh, thank you. And we'll chat again soon about my books, which
Absolutely,
is
yes, we
awesome.
definitely will.
Thank you. That's a wrap. I have a number of new episodes coming out this month while I'm on book tour for the Women of Arlington Hall. And I'll have some exciting announcements coming up in the fall. Thanks so much, everyone. And it's not night, have a great afternoon. All right, take care, Eliza. Nice to meet you.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.